Hi guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to play Monopoly Lord of the Rings Trilogy Edition. The object of this game is to be the player that has either the most amount of money at the end or is the last player standing. You have the board, and in place of the typical Monopoly properties, you're going to be having different areas from Middle-earth. And here are the cards that are associated with these. These are properties. And throughout the game, you're going to be buying and possibly selling and trading these properties and trying to collect rent from them. You have an array of characters from Lord of the Rings, and they're pretty nicely made. And you're going to pick one of these, and then you're going to go ahead and place it here on the go space. You also have a ring that you're going to be placing on the go space, and throughout the game, the ring is going to be moving around the board. Whenever it reaches Mount Doom, the game is going to end. Now, in this game, power is going to replace money, and in the very beginning, everybody is going to receive 1,500 power. Some of the spaces on the board, you have the different properties, and they actually are in different color groups. You have event cards, which are over here. If you land on events, you'll draw that card. You have a people card, same thing. If you land on a people space, you'll draw a people card. You have a space that says seen by the Palantir. It says pay 10% or $200. You'll have to make the choice. But essentially, you're going to be paying 10% of everything that you own, or just $200 flat. You have the jail space over here. The just visiting is where you'll land if you're not in jail. If you end up in jail, you're going to go in here. The staff of Gandalf and the staff of Saruman. And these are two different types of properties, which I'll talk about. You also have different ponies. You have Bill the Pony. You have this one, and then you have this one. These substitute for the railroads. Free parking, nothing is going to happen if you land on that. If you land on the go to jail space, you will end up going to jail. And then you have Shelob's Lair. You'll pay $75 if you land on that. And as always, if you land on or pass go, you're going to collect $200. But in this case, you're going to collect 200 power. Now, one of the die here has the Eye of Sauron on it, and it also substitutes as a 1. If somebody rolls the Eye of Sauron, the ring is going to end up moving on the property like so. The ring is going to move along the properties like so. Now, it's only going to be able to land on the properties. It's going to pass over the ponies and the staffs, etc. So if somebody else happened to roll the Eye of Sauron on the die, he would move the ring over here like so. Now, if somebody ends up landing on the ring, if the property is unowned, then you're going to be able to get the property for free. However, if someone owns the property, you're going to have to pay them twice what you normally would. Now, in the places of houses and hotels, you're going to have strongholds, and you're also going to have fortresses, and you'll be able to build these once you are able to get a monopoly. In other words, owning an entire color set. So you'll select the person who's the banker, and the banker will go ahead and roll first. And let's just say he happened to roll a 6. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he landed on Buckleberry Ferry. If this is an unowned property, he will have the opportunity to purchase it, and so in this case, he would pay the banker that much amount of power, and then he would go ahead and receive a title deed card. If he did not want to buy it, then the property would go up for auction, and people would bid on it, and whoever won the auction will go ahead and receive the property. Now, the way it works is if anybody happens to land on a property that you own, in the beginning, they're going to end up paying you this much amount of rent. If it turns out that you own all of the properties in a color group, they're going to end up paying you double this. Now, when you own all the properties in a color group, this is going to constitute a monopoly, and this is going to allow you to purchase the strongholds and the fortresses. And the way you would do that is you would simply look at what the cost is, and you would pay that to the bank. And let's just say I wanted to buy 3 strongholds. I will go ahead and pay 50 to the bank, and then I will go ahead and put 1 here, and then 1 here, and then 1 here. And as in regular Monopoly, you have to build evenly. Now, once you end up having 4 of these, you'll be able to trade them in and then pay an extra 50, in this case, to go ahead and put these fortress up here. So you would be like that. And whoever lands on your property, depending on how many strongholds or whatever fortress that you have, they're going to end up paying you that amount. Now, if you would like to, you can do what's called mortgage the property, and this basically means you'll end up receiving money from the bank, but the property will be mortgaged. If anyone lands on the property while it is mortgaged, they're not going to owe you any rent. Now, if you want to unmortgage the property, you're going to have to go ahead and pay back this amount plus 10%. So in this case, you would pay back 55 power. Now, the ponies over here work a little bit differently. You will end up paying rent depending on how many ponies somebody owns. So if it turns out I ended up owning this pony, and then I also ended up owning this pony, Bill the Pony, that would be 2 steeds. If someone landed on one of those, they would owe me 50. The different staffs, which are the staff of Gandalf and the staff of Saruman. If you end up owning a staff, someone lands on it, they're going to end up paying you either 4 times the amount if you own one staff, or 10 times the amount if you own both of them. Now, if you end up landing on a people card or an events card, you're going to end up drawing the appropriate card, and I'll just show you some of these cards. Gain 150 power, advance token to the nearest steed, head to jail, betrayed by Wormtongue, etc. And there's a whole bunch of cards like this. They could either help you or hurt you. Now, if you end up in jail, and there's a few ways you can get in jail. If you land on go to jail, you'll end up going to jail. You'll also be able to roll doubles in this game. If you roll doubles, you'll be able to go again, but if you roll doubles 3 times, you're going to end up in jail. And you can also end up in jail if you draw a card that tells you to go directly to jail. Now, there's a few ways that you can get out of jail. One way is if you end up rolling doubles. If you roll doubles, you'll be able to get out that way in 3 turns. You'll have 3 turns to try to do this. You can pay 50 power to the bank, and then you'll be able to get out of jail that way. You'll also be able to play a get out of jail free card if you happen to have one. Otherwise, if after 3 turns you don't roll doubles, you'll just pay 50 power to the bank, and then you'll just go out on your roll. Now in this game, you can also do bartering and trading. You can try to trade for properties, sell different properties, things like that. If one of your properties has a fortress or a stronghold on it, you have to sell that back to the bank before you can trade it. And also, if you end up selling a mortgage property to someone, that person's going to have a couple of choices. You can go ahead and unmortgage it immediately by paying the 10% and then the amount, or he can just go ahead and immediately pay the 10% and then later on unmortgage it. But if he does that, he's going to have to pay the 10% again and then the cost to unmortgage it. Now, if you decide to sell the buildings back, you're going to sell these back for half the value that they're worth. Now, if it turns out you land on a property, or if the bank forces you to pay money and you can't pay it, even if you sell everything, that means you're going to go ahead and go bankrupt. If you end up going bankrupt to a player, you're going to go ahead and give him all of your properties. You'll sell back all the fortresses and the strongholds back for half price and give him that amount. If it turns out that you end up going bankrupt to the bank, you'll go ahead and give everything to the bank, and any properties that you have will automatically be auctioned off. So now once everybody goes bankrupt except one player, that'll end the game. But if the ring ends up on Mount Doom first, then the game is immediately going to stop, and everybody's going to go ahead and total up their money, total up their fortresses and strongholds by the purchase price, and also any territories they have, and they'll use the board price to total that. So you'll total all those things up, and whoever ends up with the most amount of money in that case is going to win the game. And that, folks, is Lord of the Rings Monopoly Trilogy Edition.